Hello and welcome to Irish Ears, a Disney fancast. On the pod, we aim to be your Irish viewpoint on Disney news, with a heavy focus on our second home, Disneyland Paris. And we did it, episode 2, which means we can officially call ourselves a multi-episode podcast. Thank you for all your feedback on episode 1, and we are determined to improve episode after episode. Megan, who are you?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a Disney Instagrammer and TikToker from Belfast and a Minnie Mouse superfan.
I'm Stuart, a Disney dad from Dublin. I run Disneyland Paris Tips for Irish. I love Disneyland Paris, all things Marvel, and I'm basically Buzz Lightyear if you had an Irish switch. So, let's get straight into the latest news as we record this on Tuesday, June 20th. First again, unfortunately, we're going to talk about the strikes at DLP. Still not resolved. The latest update is that yesterday we had what was meant to be a full day of strikes, but it didn't actually turn out to be that intense. What do you think?
No, I was expecting it to be a lot worse yesterday. I feel like the statement that was put out by the unions made it sound like it could have been a full day of park closure, basically, but it didn't really seem to be as disruptive to people as we thought. I kind of just saw some people, a crowd of them going through studios and then some sort of marching towards the castle, but I didn't see any kind of major interruptions to the fireworks or anything.
Yeah, I think the fireworks went ahead. They seemed to enter the parks at about 10:11 this time, which was a little bit later. As you said, they entered in studios and then they went over to the main park. I think a few Dream and Shine Brides got cancelled and Disney Stars on Parade got cancelled. So the strikers did us a favour there with that one. But there's no budge from Disney and there's nothing planned until August as regard talks. So I guess there's no more news about when the next strike's going to be. So we're just going to sit tight day on day.
But it looks like this thing could well drag on to August now. I feel like if Disney aren't going to step in and come to the table now, we're in June. Like I can't see them bringing forward a solution before August unless things really, really escalate.
One thing I think there's been a bit of a flip-flop in the kind of hearts and minds of the public on this, because after Dreams got cancelled a week or two ago, I don't know about you, I personally got an awful lot of backlash from prospective guests that, the protesters had gone a step too far and they just didn't understand how. I think it was just the fact that Disneyland Paris on the night as well waited so long to cancel Dreams. So, an hour or two after, most people start queuing at, Dreams on at 11. So they start queuing from nearly 8:30, like. And Disneyland Paris waited until 10:30, 11:45 to cancel the whole show. And my God, there was a big backlash and had to close City Hall. But I think after that, then the protesters gave the weekend off entirely because there was a Make-A-Wish event on that entire weekend. And then since then, as yesterday we've seen, it's been kind of low key and not as heated, I would say, the protests. But on the flip side of that, I don't know about you, but in the last few days, maybe just because I was actually over there, but I mean, there's just an outpouring of love for the cast members, to me personally, because like people have been going on trips and they haven't really been seeing face-to-face cast members, and when they come back from the trips with the kind of the background thoughts of the strike that's going on and the fact that a lot of cast members are unhappy with their paying conditions, they come back and they realize that these cast members are making magic and they're making their holidays. Like it's not the castle that makes the holiday, as Bob Chapek would disagree with. It's not the buildings, it's the cast members. So that's definitely, I think we've swung back around now and there's a huge groundswell of people just supporting the cast members at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that because I think people are starting to see when things get disrupted, whenever Dream and Shine Brighter doesn't happen, when Stars on Parade doesn't happen, when rides close, people really are starting to see that it's without these cast members, there is no Disneyland Paris. They are the ones who are making all this happen. Without them, there's no rides, no shows. And, I've seen some pretty poor takes, I'm not going to lie, on the internet this week. People saying, if you're not happy with your conditions, just quit. But what if all of those cast members did quit? Who's going to bring the magic? Like, it's not an inviting job for other people to apply to if they've seen other people walk out. And now, obviously, it's been really well publicized how the paying conditions, it's not going to make people want to apply to work there. So I think Disney just need to sort of come in, take the hit and meet with the cast members, come to some sort of a solution, because I don't think either party are going to be backing down anytime soon.
No, and like these people's careers, like a lot of people are there 31 years since 92, since it opened. And even if you're not there 31 years, you could be there 5, 10 years and have your roots put down in Marne-la-Vallée. And you could be, even if you're just after joining Disneyland Paris, you could be signed up for a 3 or 4 year college course. And you can't just uproot and move yourself to, a world-class entertainment venue to get another job. There's not, like, I know there's a few theme parks in the area, but let's be honest, Disneyland Paris is the biggest theme park attraction in Europe.
And working for Disney is a dream for so many, especially, I would say maybe those, especially in the entertainment department. I mean, what greater job in entertainment could you have than working for a company like Disney? It's not just a kind of a weekend tiding yourself over kind of job. These people are so passionate about what they do. They're brilliant at what they do. And I think you'll agree with me, they deserve the world and more. So
they do, and they deserve to want to do a great job. It's such a difference when a cast member wants to do a great job. Right, so we'll move on to the new concept art that was revealed for Disney Village. And we got a kind of a miniature, I'd say a long landscape concept of what the shops will look like in the village. Not going to say it looks that exciting from a kind of a personality point of view. Like, I mean, when Disney Village opened in 92, it was just full of color and flair, and like, I don't know, what's your thoughts on it? Like, are you happy with this kind of corporatization?
To be honest, I think if anyone has been to the likes of Downtown Disney and Disney Springs over in the States, it's kind of copy and paste. I think it looks very corporate, and I know that that's kind of the direction that they want to move into, but I think we are going to end up really missing the loud colors and the retro feel that the Disney Village has had since it opened. I would love to see the Disney Village be a roaring success, but just looking at that concept art, it just looks a bit bland to me. And it looks as though it's just really a change of facade on the front, really, as opposed to a remodeling of the village. It just looks like they're just doing up the shop fronts and changing what's inside them a little bit, It seems to be a wee bit similar in that, you've got your Disney fashion, your Disney gallery. Like, the shops seem to be very similar to what they were before. They don't seem to be bringing in, at least from the concept art, any kind of outside names or anything like that to come in. It looks like it's still very much, Disney owned, Disney centric.
Yeah, and I think that one or two of the restaurants are going to be owned by the same people who run the Royal Pub. And if that's anything to go by, we're looking at
spoons.
Very small, spoons on a different budget altogether. Like, it's €25 for a very small dinner in the Royal Pub, and upwards of €10 for a pint. Now, the pint of Guinness is good, don't get me wrong, and the staff working in the Royal Pub are all very well trained and everything, but they're just let's just see. We'll just see what happens. It's good that Disney Village is getting some love, and hopefully, as ever, the employees and the cast members will make it.
Yep, we're relying on you guys.
No pressure.
No pressure.
So moving inside of Disneyland Paris then, and we have just news today, Tuesday 20th of June, that the Asgard pedestal is being replaced or being renovated again. For those who don't know, this is inside Avengers Campus, and the Asgard pedestal is where Thor and Loki come out and do a kind of interactive show. They pull up one or two guests, and you get to try and lift Thor's hammer and see if you're worthy, and Loki has a bit of banter with everyone, and it's all good crack. But what's not good crack is the crack that's being put in the pedestal by guests climbing on the pedestal. So if you can picture it, it's kind of about 4 or 5 feet tall, kind of hip high, and guests maybe of a certain age, maybe who should be better behaved, take it upon themselves to jump on top of this pedestal and perhaps take a picture, etc. And it was not made for that. It's not made of Asgardian limestone. So just, I mean, we just wanted to have a general chit chat here about guest behavior in the parks because a few months ago, um, a video went viral of another group of guests who were running circles around the Minnie slash Mickey mural flower beds out the front of this Disneyland Hotel. So I know these people aren't listening to the podcast because, you know, everyone listening to the podcast are surely angels. But I don't know what we're going to do about guest behavior at Disneyland Paris. Like I've discussed this with other people who visit often, and they've said, oh, maybe Disneyland Paris could do a education campaign or some sort of informational thing. Like Disneyland Paris don't mention at all when you're there to kind of behave yourself. So
You shouldn't have
is there
to.
anything that can be done?
It's just like one of those things, you know, where we say this all the time on Twitter every time we say it. But this is why we can't have nice things, because people just take advantage of those nice things being there. I mean, like you said about the planters, I'm not sure maybe we're talking about the same video, but I've seen a video that was going around Twitter of a lady actually lifting her child, putting them in the planter to take pictures of them, and it's like that's not even children's behavior, that's the parents' behavior, picking these toddlers up and putting them in a flower bed. You know, it's I don't know, maybe we're just model citizens or something, but it just wouldn't occur to me to, you know, climb on something that's not meant to be climbed on. And just on that incident in Avengers Campus, does that mean now that that show can't go ahead? Or is there going to be a modified version of the show? Or what way is that being resolved until it's fixed?
Let's not ruin the magic here, but Thor's hammer activates with the pedestal. So without the pedestal, that section can't go ahead of the show. Right. But I mean, these guys are professionals. They can create magic out of nowhere without the pedestal being there. So I trust the cast members to do a great job kind of filling in. But yeah, like I went to May 4th, and as soon as The Mandalorian came out, there was people like nearly climbing the trees to see this fella. And it's just like, I don't know, this is the world we're living these days. But if anyone listening, if you're going with your kids or whatever, you know, just take a second to think, should I be doing this? Right, moving on to better news, which is the massive... This is groundbreaking news, Megan. Groundbreaking news. And I know you're very passionate about the water bottle situation in Disneyland Paris. And your mega tip for me a few weeks ago was that the water bottle fountains in the arcades are the best taps to go to, because they're connected to the toilets. So...
Yes, because they're always on. They're always on. And I take a lot of flack about this on Facebook and on social media. People yelling at me, telling me, you told me the water fountains would be on. And they are on. All the ones in the indoor arcades are always on. The ones outside are switched off when it's too cold. But I promise you, Arcade Alpha and Beta, is that what they're called? No, they're not. That's not what they're called. They're called Discovery Arcade and Liberty Arcade. Those arcade water fountains are always switched on. So that's a nice wee tip for saving some money.
Yeah, and now we have a world-class bottle filling station in Videopolis, which is similar to the one that's in Avengers Campus. It basically has 2 taps either side and then a bottle filler where you just put your bottle in and you press the button and down comes beautiful H2O. So so Videopolis has been upgraded once more from a place that you can just chill, watch old Mickey and Minnie shorts, and get your burger and chill during the summer and keep warm during the winter, to now a top quality H2O station within Videopolis. And not only at the moment, but you can now meet Minnie or a friend in a meet and greet. And I had the absolute pleasure, I won't spoil the rest of the episode, but because we're going to get to my trip later on, but I had the absolute pleasure of partaking in this meet and greet, and I can say it lived up to my expectations entirely. So keep listening to the rest of the episode to hear my take on my trip. Rendezvous Gourmand is currently on in studios, and I think it's fantastic. I know some people are kind of like, oh, well, they're just food stalls, and the quality of food probably isn't that great, but when you're used to the quality of food in studios, I mean, I'd be happy with a Supermax, really.
100%. I think studios is usually, you know, without that festival being on, they're very much lacking in good food outlets. And I think it's nice to have those stalls there, you know, different times of the year. I've actually liked everything that I've got from those stalls whenever I've been
Yeah,
visiting. I thought it's been all right, and it brings a nice buzz as well. I think around, especially around like where the Ratatouille kind of area is, that kind of walkway down to that section of the park can be a bit, empty and bland, but you get nice smells too. It really like enhances the kind of Parisian feel when you can smell the crepes and smell whatever else that they're cooking. I think it's great.
yeah, and they actually have some like I know around Place de Remy is all French stuff, but up then towards kind of how would you call it in behind the Frozen show and in behind Tower of Terror there's like an Asian stall, there's a Spanish stall, a Greek stall, and these are doing like I wouldn't say authentic food because it's Disneyland Paris, but it would pass for authentic food. They have sushi. They have sushi in Disneyland Paris.
What?
Yes.
What?
I don't like it, but they have it. And they have churros. Churros in Disneyland
Oh,
Paris.
no way.
Yes. And with
Are they good churros?
buckets
Are
of
they
Nutella.
acceptable churros?
They look grand to me, yeah. They look grand to me. They're obviously not.
Not frozen out of. They're not frozen out of Auchan, are they?
Well, who knows? But we're not comparing to the US parks here, but Disneyland Paris famously has not had churros, and now it has churros for a few more months, I'd say, up until probably the end of...
Beggars can't be choosers, I suppose.
Yeah, up until probably the end of summer, I'd say they run this. And then it turns into Hiver Gourmand, which is winter. I had a great time celebrating Donald's birthday. I don't know about you. I did it remotely. He's such a legend.
Yep, me too. What a legend. What a legend.
For that special day, we had treats in the parks. We had a special little cake that was Donald's bum, which was his little tail sticking up, and you were enticed to take a bite. Really, they handed out collectible cards.
Nice.
Yeah. I just think
I love the way they're doing that now for all the like VIP characters. They're getting their own little birthday celebrations. I think that's lovely. And it's a nice surprise because I think a lot of guests that kind of come for the day, they don't always wouldn't be as hardcore as us knowledge wise in knowing when all the different characters' birthdays are. So imagine turning up and just kind of then seeing like a Donald Duck celebration or a Goofy celebration. It's just like an extra little perk for being there on that day. It's nice. I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah, like everyone loves Donald, and he's a right quacker, that's for sure. Ha! Right, so Princess Breakfast is back, and once again, I slipped my way into Auberge de Cendrillon and bagged myself unscheduled reservation, which was not a reservation because it just turned up. I wouldn't recommend doing this; it's very busy. But at the moment, there seems to be kind of ramping up the capacity. And yeah, I went in for Princess Breakfast, and it was lovely, and it was great value, and it was everything that I hoped it would be. Mainly due to the cast members, obviously, but the food was exactly the same as it was about 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So the breakfast is these like dodgy sausages that we're all used to in Disneyland Paris. Nice bit of scrambled egg.
Veal sausages.
Yeah. Well, who knows what's in them? Bit of scrambled egg, bit of kind of baby potato and onion kind of mix, and then a Cinderella little potato waffle thing. And then there was like a little afternoon tea tray of croissants and pain au chocolats, and then some jams and honey and things like that. Yeah, so I had an absolute blast. The princesses that were lucky enough to meet me were Snow White, Ariel, and Cinderella. And they were all just completely charming. And obviously, I was there for the content, obviously. So
obviously,
it's a bit strange not a bit strange, but I felt a bit non-standard to be there alone and just the princesses coming up. But they were all entirely wonderful and entirely lovely, and I had a grand old time. And I would totally recommend it to anyone else. It's €60 for adults and €40 for children. And I think if you book it via your hotel, it's €50 for adults. For some reason, it's difference in price.
I don't understand that price difference at all, but like you've sold it to me. I really hope I get to go this weekend. I'm really hoping to squeeze in on Sunday, so fingers crossed. It sounds like a really good experience, and it definitely, by the sound of the amount of food you got, sounds like it's definitely worth that money.
Yeah, I was stuffed, and to be fair, like that's an awful lot of time saved in Princess Pavilion. I know you love Princess Pavilion, but
Oh, I hate the Princess Pavilion. I hate the Princess Pavilion. I've no like shame in saying it. I think it's just ridiculous to have to queue for 2 hours for one princess. I would recommend honestly the Princess Dining to anybody if it's within your budget. It is 100% worth spending that money for the time that you save, because like when you think about that, like you said, three princesses, imagine queuing 2 hours each for them, and that's 6 hours basically back that you've got from your holiday.
Yeah, incredible.
I like
Like
I would do it anytime.
that's the way I always think of carta dining is, you know, three princesses. Now I must say, just to note, the amount of princesses you're meant to meet in lunch, breakfast, or dinner is not guaranteed. I know everyone says you'll probably meet four princesses at lunch and dinner, and you'll probably meet three at breakfast. But if you meet less than that, although you might feel a bit peeved, um, there's nothing that they can do about it. Like it's called a princess dining experience, but nowhere in the terms and conditions does it say you're going to definitely meet a single princess. So just be careful on that point. I know some people have been disappointed by meeting less than what the average would be, but I didn't get Minnie. I didn't get. Are we calling her Queen Minnie or are we calling her Princess Minnie?
I think princess just because it's a princess breakfast. I
Okay.
mean, I call her queen. She's queen to me, but I think the costume, the official title for the costume is Princess Minnie. That's my dream meet and greet. Like, you shouldn't be a jealous person, but I absolutely am every time I see someone taking pictures with her in that outfit, because that's just I would pay that €60 to meet Minnie on her own in that outfit. Like, never mind the food, never
Yeah.
mind the other princesses. For Minnie, I would pay that €60, hands down, no problem.
Yeah. So anyway, book it in. It's on the app now. It just dropped on the app there last weekend, and you can book it in via your Disney booking that you have either with Disney Direct or with a travel agent. Just get in touch with them, and you can book it in for slots and things like that. So moving on to the Little Mermaid show. Yeah, I caught that. It was another tick the boxes, something that I really wanted to see and do. And I thought it was like much better than the reception he was getting, and much better than the kind of minimal hype that it's been getting. So
Mm.
it's kind of tucked around. Like when you walk into studios, you can't see it because the little mini stage they have set up is actually facing Avengers Campus. So when you walk down Studio One and take a left to go towards Avengers Campus, if you don't know about this aerial show or Little Mermaid show, you will not see it. You have to kind of look around the side. And then they don't have published
Mm.
times for the show as well. So it kind of just happens. Now, luckily, it was happening when I walked into studios. So I got to see them singing Under the Sea. And
Oh, lovely.
the main singer who kind of plays, I don't think he plays Sebastian, but he definitely takes the role of Sebastian in the songs and things. I don't think
Hmm.
he's meant to be Sebastian, but he's fantastic. I don't think Ariel sings at all in the show, which is a bit of a missed
No.
opportunity. But I mean, how are you going to live up to Halle Bailey, really? So we'll just
Oh, you
we'll
just
keep our
can't.
expectations low. But that lad is fantastic, and like Ariel is beautiful and is dancing around the place and then talks. You know, so you get the kind of vibe of the movie. I think they were just
She's beautiful. I think.
yeah.
Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I think they were just playing it safe. I think they were just playing it safe. They didn't know the reception the movie would get. They didn't want to invest anything in the
And I
promotion.
think the disappointment
Yeah.
too, I think some of the less favourable reviews that have come through of it has been because people have maybe seen what Walt Disney World are doing and what Disneyland are doing, where they're having, the meet and greet with Ariel, and maybe people are kind of comparing the two, feeling that Paris maybe should have had a meet and greet. We covered this in the last episode, but I think most of the negative feedback I've seen hasn't really even been about the show itself. It's just kind of disappointment that you can't actually meet her properly.
Yeah. Well, like again, not to create a frenzy here, but like they don't rush off after the show. So if you want to be extremely kind and extremely polite, you could ask for a selfie or something like that. Like don't push obviously in, but these people are human and they're cast members and they're there to make magic. So all they can say is no. But yeah, I loved it. Like the music was great, dancing was great. They do play about 3 or 4 songs and it's all live singing. So like it's fantastic. And I think it's really a shame that a lot of people I've seen comment sections that are less than let's say nice about the movie, and they're from people who haven't seen the movie. They made up their mind before they watched the movie that
Oh,
they were not going to like it because of a certain change. and that is a crying shame because the movie is fantastic, and what
Phenomenal.
Halle Bailey has done with the character is fantastic. And I would say that if you haven't seen it yet, to go see it, because it's honestly, like, I only saw the Aladdin motion picture, the live motion picture version on Disney Plus, like years after it came out, and I loved it. And you ranked that up there with Little Mermaid remake, so
it's my favorite. The Aladdin live action is my favorite live action. Then The Little Mermaid is so close underneath it. And I'm critical of live action films. They're the only two that I would probably go back and watch again. So that's a high compliment, high praise from me for The Little Mermaid. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go and see it on the big screen before it comes back to Disney Plus, because it'll look great on Disney Plus, but it'll be even better on the big screen.
Oh, it's fantastic on the big screen. I was like, wow. I didn't even see it in 3D. I saw it in IMAX, and it was like full screen, full color, very loud. And I loved it. Yeah. And like, I suppose we might as well talk about some other movies that are coming out under the Disney family. We have Elemental, which was very quiet release.
Oh,
I haven't seen
real
any
shame
release.
because I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer for Elemental when I went to see The Little Mermaid, and I thought, my God, that looks fantastic! Like, really cute, really interesting concept. The characters would be very cute as a meet and greet. Let me just put that out there. I think they've kind of done them dirty promotional wise. I think that could be a really, really good film that they're sleeping on.
Yeah, I saw someone saying online there that Pixar seemed to be getting done dirty with just general promotion lately. We had
they've had so many good ones out in the last couple of years that have just been put straight onto Disney Plus, no theatrical release. And like Turning Red would be the one that always comes to my mind. That I think that was a really fantastic movie, and I think had that got a theatrical release, it maybe would have taken off a bit more than it did. I think that one kind of got sidelined a wee bit.
Yeah, well, obviously their hand was kind of forced by the panini, but like a lot of movies probably should have seen maybe a re-release, or I don't know, like it would. But there's another movie coming called Wish, and Wish is getting great hype. So I don't know if that's not Pixar, is it? They couldn't be doing two movies at the same time.
I think it is Pixar. At least it certainly looks like a Pixar one when you see the trailers that were teased. I think it was at D23 they put on out a wee snippet of it. It looks good as well. I think that, to me, it all looks good. It's just not getting the backing. And you know what I think is a big part of that as well? I don't want to get too sidetracked, but the lack of Disney stores. Because that's how I always used to know they had new movies coming out. When you walk into the Disney store and the front of the Disney store has all the stuff from the latest movie. I don't know whether that was just me, but I think if other people felt it that way, that's how they found out about new releases, and there's no Disney store.
Yeah, maybe we should run a little survey of Dublin cinema attendances now that we're like pretty much. Are we like London still has its Disney store, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're the only two left, London and Dublin.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow. And I heard no news about those stores closing, so please God, we'll keep them forevermore.
No, don't put that into the universe.
Don't put that out there. Right, so that wraps up our little Disneyland Paris mini news. I'm going to get to my trip later on, which I'm going to be interrogated by the lovely Megan here, our roving reporter. So we'll move on then to international news and discussion. So first up, we have Bruno Madrigal apparently coming to Walt Disney World, which is great. I think, did you see him or was he in California already?
Yes, I met him at the Oogie Boogie Bash last October. I don't think he's been back since. I think he was just like a special exclusive character for that event. But, you know, fair play to Disneyland Resort, because the film had just come out that year and they got Bruno straight into their first event there. But it is nice now to see Walt Disney World getting him as well, because he was a fantastic meet. You know, if you cast Bruno well, like he's really like the one we met anyway. When we met Bruno, he was very kind of on edge, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
And you know, everything you said to him, he kind of went, "Why'd you say that? What's going on?" Like he was perfect. He was perfect, and I think that he perfect comedy factor for some really, really good meets there. So I'm glad Walt Disney World guests are getting to experience him soon.
Yeah, and like Encanto and Moana, I feel in the parks are massively underrepresented, and they're always the ones that people ask me, where can I get Moana merchandise? Where can I get Encanto merchandise, and it's just like, no, sorry, you might get little, you know, kind of secondary characters as little teddy bears and things like that, but like, and maybe a dress here or there, but like, there's nothing really. It's a crying shame. Turning red as well. Yeah, well, hopefully they hear us and they they bring the madrigals to Disneyland Paris soon.
Manifest that. Manifest that.
Manifestation. Right, moving on to, I suppose we wanted to talk about Tron. Tron had a massive hype in Walt Disney World, and I love the movies. I love the soundtrack. It's one of those ones that's kind of like up there with the Avengers soundtrack that you kind of makes the hairs in the back of your neck stand up. The ride itself looked right on topic. Like it looked like an incredible representation of the movie, the movies. And like I suppose the sidetrack to that is that the Tron coaster, apparently, rumor mill, was an order of 3 Tron coasters.
Right.
Yes, and obviously we have one in Shanghai, we have one in Walt Disney World, and apparently the one that's slated for Disneyland Paris might turn into a Star Wars spin on the Tron coaster, which will fit in behind Space Mountain.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Anything new for the Disney park? It is for the Disneyland park. I don't care what it is, what movie it's themed to. We need something new in there for sure. So I will take whatever form they want to put this roller coaster in as rumored coaster.
We got a new water fountain in Videopolis. What do you want?
Oh, well, I suppose we should count ourselves lucky.
Okay, so moving on to Disney company news, I suppose. Well, just a tidbit of Disney company news that Christine McCarthy, Chief Financial Officer, stepped down. I think it was cited for family reasons.
Yeah, that's what they put down.
Obviously, the papers, in America are running, just ignoring that fact, and giving their opinion on why she should have went in the first place, which is terrible. But that's the world we live in these days.
I know she is a bit of a controversial character. She's had her moments, but I think whenever you do, like when somebody's stepping down from such a high post because of, family reasons or health reasons, like a good person can't help but feel a bit of sympathy there and, extend the well wishes, hope that she or whoever from her family is unwell, I hope they get better. And yeah.
Yeah, so Disney are in a bit of a spot here because they're looking for a CFO and they're looking for, ongoing looking for a CEO to replace Bob Iger during his 2-year stint. So maybe the same person can just melt together.
Oh, good God. Depends who it is. But I don't know. I'm struggling to see the back of Iger already. Like, I don't know if he will. I know he said he's only doing 2 years, but I feel like if they can't find an adequate enough replacement for him, I don't know if he would step down for somebody who's just okay. I think they want to find the right person. Like,
obviously, Josh is right up there to be replaced. Josh D'Amara, who's Disney Parks president, I suppose is probably his title. I'm not sure, but he's
definitely head of Parks and Experiences, I think is the official title, or was his official title.
So you need someone who's going to be able to be in the room with, like, the French president and hold their ground, or stand up to Ron DeSantis in Florida. Like, you need someone who has that sort of level of gravitas. And like Bob Iger could step into a presidential role in any country if he wanted to. He might do that.
And I think Josh is very personable. I think Josh has, he's very charismatic. We know when guests meet him and when celebrities go to the parks and they meet with Josh, they seem really, really fond of him. And I think that's really good. And like, he's quite, I don't know how to put this. He's young. He's quite young. He's got a lot of business years left in him. That it's not like they're hiring someone who's close to retirement age. If somebody like Josh could step up to one of the higher jobs, they could be holding on to him for quite a while. And I think that's good as well, to have some longevity there, because you just don't want all these sort of the big wigs at Disney all retiring at once and then they'll be put into even stickier wicket a couple of years down the line. So he could be in line for one of those posts. Who knows?
Yeah, because you need people who are going to believe in the dream, I suppose. And when you have someone who's, I just judging by his pictures, he's under 50, or maybe, I know he's going salt and pepper, but I think he's under 50.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
he has a vision for Disney for the next 20 years, I mean, it's either his way or you get out of the company, pretty much. Whereas if
Mm.
you know that there's a fella who's, over 70 and he's only coming in for 2 years, and you might just keep your head down for 2 years and wait till he moves on. And then, it's just better for everyone to believe in the dream and to get on board the kind of train of thought that the new successor would have. And hopefully the person has pretty much the same. I know Bob Iger isn't perfect, and there's an awful lot going on in Disney, in the Walt Disney Company, that isn't perfect at the moment. But like compared to some of the more recent appointments, we're just happy we have him
Yeah,
at the moment.
exactly. We'd all rather him than his original
Predecessor.
successor.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna
predecessor,
let you lead. I'm
successor.
gonna let you lead with Oogie Boogie news, because I know he's your bae.
Oh, I love anything Halloween related, and I just threw this onto the list because I thought it sounded amazing. But at Hollywood Studios in Florida, they have announced a Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along coming to their Hyperion Theater as part of Disney Jollywood Nights, and it includes appearances by Jack Skellington and Oogie Boogie. Like, that sounds fantastic. Why can't we get that at Disneyland Paris? Was my first thought. Like, we've got that Videopolis theater. Could we have Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along at Halloween in there? Could Jack
Yes.
Skellington be there? Could Sally be there? Of course they could. Let's do it. Like, it just sounds like something that would really fit into Disneyland Paris Halloween. And I'm so jealous of anyone going over to Walt Disney World over Halloween who's going to get to see this, because it's right up my street. I think it sounds fantastic.
And the American parks, they run Halloween for 3 months or so.
Oh,
They start
Halloween,
in
I
August.
think starts in August, at least in California for sure. It starts in August. Like, the Halloween party we're going to this year is in September, so they really do go for it over there. So they get a pretty good long run out of all these shows as well.
Yeah, like we've discussed before, like what are Disneyland Paris going to do with these ticketed events, the soirees, the Halloween party's gone, the New Year's Eve party's gone. So who knows what they're going to do? Hopefully they work it out, and we can have, like, who knows? Let's give them a chance with this series of kind of enhanced nights and a season of what they're going to do for Halloween in Disneyland Paris, because they've promised that the whole month's going to be better than it was because there's no party.
Yeah, if they can pull it off, if they can pull off an enhanced version without putting the costs up, that could be really, really good for them. They may, if they pull it off, they might just stick with it and not go back to the ticketed parties, which is a win for guests too as well, because that means they get to stay in the parks late. They don't have to put any extra money in their pockets to attend the Halloween soiree. I think if they can pull this off, it is going to be a win-win.
Yeah, and
if
it is
they pull
one
it
thing
off.
that is, yeah, it is one thing that is commented by particularly people comparing the American parks to Disneyland Paris, is that Disneyland Paris does a lot more for free. It's like they do. Obviously, the American parks have more ticketed events, and they're probably a little bit cheaper than Disneyland Paris is kind of upwards of €100
They're
each.
expensive. I think it's that they're expensive, but they don't sell as many tickets. They're not as overcrowded. We certainly find that with the Oogie Boogie Bash.
Okay.
Like, it's expensive, but there's less people there, so you get to do more in the night. So you feel like you're getting so much more out of it because you're not stuck in long lines all night. And I think I like it that way. I really think that's the way to go for Disneyland Paris. I feel like sometimes with their ticketed events, they do oversell and everything gets crowded and you don't really get to achieve that much on the night because you're stuck in long lines.
Oh, we'll see. So
We'll
Disneyland
see.
Resort Pride Night, that was just a big Clarabelle party, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, those videos of Clarabelle. Every other video on my For You page is Clarabelle like strutting down Main Street like RuPaul style. She really, really stole the show. I think it's great. I think she's an underrated character and she's getting her moment, but their Pride Night looked unbelievable. Like, the different characters that they had out and about. They had the muses from Hercules that you could like go and talk to and take pictures with. They had a bunch of Star Wars characters out, that like Tarzan characters. I'm so gutted that I didn't get to go to it. It looked amazing. But it's so good to see Disney in America having their first Disney run Pride events. They have to be applauded for that. Obviously it was always going to be California before it was going to be Florida. I don't think we're ever going to get that in Florida, at least not anytime soon. But it is good that they are kind of taking that stand in California, saying, you know, we're here for this community. Clearly a lot of effort went into the event, and the governor of, or the state governor of California was at the event shaking hands with guests and wishing everyone a happy Pride Month.
Amazing.
His name's escaped me now, but like that was really, really heartwarming to see. There's a TikTok by the Disney vlogger RJ, and he made a whole video dedicated to the fact that the governor was there because he was so touched and moved that they'd made the effort to come out and, you know, we're showing their support and actively saying, you know, we're here for you, we support this, we're so glad you're here and all this. It was just lovely.
Yeah, and like obviously California is doing whatever it can to be basically the antithesis of Florida right now.
Literally.
After Disney cancelled the move of the Imagineers studios from Burbank down to Florida. So I mean, that's gotta win a few votes back in California. And you would like to think that there's an awful lot of sincerity in a politician turning up at a Disney park, but I think, you know, it's great. The community, you know, needs all the help it can get in America right now, and
certainly does.
part 2 coming up.
So, Stuart, you are just back from a whirlwind weekend at DLP, and I thought it would be nice just for this segment of the podcast to talk a little bit about your trip, what you got up to, and of course your coverage of Disneyland Paris Pride, which looked like a great old time. I have a couple of questions put up together here for you, but obviously, chat away. I would love to hear all about it, but I think we should probably start with the basics. Like, how long were you in Paris for? Where did you stay? Hit me with it.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to fall off their chair when they hear about my trip routines, because I pack so much into these mini trips. Like, I'm just going up by myself, solo trip. You know, I don't want to take much time away from family life, and this was a weekend because Saturday was the Pride Party, so I have to really do so much in this amount of time. So I flew Aer Lingus from Dublin to Charles de Gaulle. The flight was my EI 524.
Yeah,
I take that flight about 8 times a year, I think it is. It was a Neo airplane, which is lovely. They're the ones with the lie-back seats. I wasn't in one of those business class seats, but I was just down in steerage, seat 27D. But yeah, flew into Charles de Gaulle and had a transfer waiting for me, and beautiful transfer. And I stayed in the Hotel l'Elysée, which is absolutely fantastic. I would have no problem recommending that to the President of Ireland. It's honestly, it's fantastic. I don't know anybody who could go there and be unimpressed. I think it's up there, like a miniature version. Think Hotel New York, okay? Now strip away Disney, strip away Marvel, and strip away the size, and the finish of everything is so high quality. Like, it's summed up by the fact that they have, you know, like Rituals, that brand that does smelly things in supermarkets.
Oh yeah,
Rituals. They do the shampoo and conditioner and soap in the toilets. So that just sums it up, really. You know,
where does it fall budget wise in terms of like?
Yeah, so my one night there was €150 for a double room. That was through Expedia, and that was non-refundable. So I suppose most people book refundable, probably pushing it up to probably 170, 180. And I think I just got a good price. So you're probably looking at about 200. And that, again, that was a double room. So it wasn't a quad room, you know, if people are looking for, or a double room, you know, where people are looking for like friends staying, etc., or like a family staying. It's the higher end of off-site hotels up there with the likes of Relais Spa, but it's fantastic. The quality in the place.
It sounds like you did get a good price there, because last year I found, certainly for Disneyland Paris Pride weekend, a lot of the off-site hotels really hiked their prices up. 150 was, that's pretty good for that weekend, because I guess hotels know how popular it is and there's going to be people from all over coming to it. So it sounds like you got quite a good deal. I'll definitely check it out next time I'm planning a wee off-site trip.
Yeah, and it's a partner hotel. So you walk into the hotel and there's official Disneyland Paris brochures. There's a shuttle bus from in front of the hotel that serves the 2 Adagio residences, or whatever you call them. And it's 8 minutes on the shuttle from door to door, which is fantastic.
No distance.
And you enter by the Five Guys roundabout, which is, superior entrance for Disneyland Paris, because you get to see the hotel straight away, and it's generally quieter. So there's no one there checking for security reasons. There's it's super chill. I'm a big fan of that hotel now, and it'll take, if I was looking at Adagio Ceres, which is perfect for what it is, because you can walk to the parks really easily. If I was looking at Adagio Ceres at kind of 150 and l'Elysee was 200, I would go for l'Elysee just for that 50 quid extra for the luxury. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's good to know, and good for everyone listening too as well, because I don't feel like that hotel's really talked about as much as some of the other kind of partner hotels, like Campanile and those kind of ones.
Andy from Disney Paris, Andy lets me know that there's a fantastic Sunday brunch in that hotel, which I'm not sure if it's bottomless champagne, but I would assume so. But she says that it's she's a local to Val d'Europe, and she goes there to that hotel just to go somewhere nice. So
I trust her food opinions 100%. I think if Andy says the food's good, it's good.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so shall we move on to the Pride event itself then? So how much did you pay for the tickets? Did you go for standard, or did you go for the early entry kind of ones? What did you end up going for?
Yeah, so I knew I was going to this event after the FOMO of last year. Basically, I knew last year that I wanted to go to the one this year. So as soon as the tickets came out, I bought them up, and the standard price was €95, and I think that the plus tickets were about 120. Now, being an annual pass holder, I had a ticket for the day anyway, so I didn't see any value in going for the plus ticket. I'll get back to that a bit later about what happened with regards to those 2 tickets. But so I bought mine with my annual pass through Disney Direct, because I get an annual pass discount. I think I paid €85, but classic Disneyland Paris, they add on €10 delivery charge to send it to you in the post.
No.
So, I mean, this is not a plug, by the way. I know everyone knows that I work with attraction tickets, but attraction tickets are just digital delivery, and it was just €95 up front, whereas this was 85 with a discount plus 10. So
you
anyway,
paid the same?
Paid the same. and it wasn't sold out, so I could have just bought it on the day for a discount.
That's really good, though, that you've pointed that out, though, for people who are buying tickets for future events. Just to watch out for that extra delivery charge, and if there is an option just to have it emailed to you or added to your Apple Wallet or whatever it is you can do to save yourself €10, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I had no choice in the matter. It was the last thing that the salesperson on the help desk said to me was, by the way, your total is this much. And I was like, sorry, hang on, what is that? I thought I was getting a discount here. Oh well, lessons learned. So the regular ticket officially got me in from 7, but as I said, I had an annual pass for the day, so I just went in about 4:00, and then when I met up with Andrea, we went to Stark Factory for dinner at about 6, got a slice of pizza, and that was around the time they were kind of getting people to leave. Now I already had my wristband. You got a yellow wristband if you had a regular ticket, and a pink wristband if you had a plus ticket. So apparently they were going through studios, asking people with the yellow wristband or no wristband to leave studios and then come back in at 7. This was happening between kind of 5:30 and 7, just to kind of filter the crowd. But because I was in Stark Factory, which is in Avengers Campus, they're not going to come in and take the pizza out of your mouth and tell you to leave. So we just left about 6:30, and by that time they weren't going to make any effort kicking people out of the parks just for the sake of 15 minutes. But I do know some people, I won't name names because they're not here to represent themselves. But there was a little bit of argy-bargy is too much. Just a kind of a strong discussion at the gates when they were told they had to leave and then come back, and it just seems so kind of bureaucratic, and the event wasn't sold out. Everyone who had a ticket or whatever, so there was alcohol checks on the way into the event. My bottle of water got forcibly opened and sniffed by security.
Nice.
Nice
and hygienic there.
Oh, big time. Sure. COVID's a long time ago. So that was the ticket situation. So for that, that was just literally just entry. There wasn't you got a little wristband to say that you're eligible to be in the parks, but there was nothing included with that €95, which is pretty much double the price of the annual pass party. Now, I'll just preface that with saying the annual pass party for me was a disaster. I didn't like it at all. It was all in French. The kind of treasure hunt vibe was, using an app that was all in French that you had to go around and find. Like Disneyland Park, the main park, is so big. I think it's the biggest castle park in the world.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And you were expected, with basically no help, to go around all the corners of the park in the dark and find selfie spots with characters. So I think they got an awful lot of backlash from that, particularly with international visitors, because it's a park. I know. I hear people in the back of my head saying the park is in Paris, but it was built as Euro Disney. It was built as the park for Europe. And I know 80% of the guests are French, but I would say more than 20% of the revenue is outside of France. So I think Disneyland Paris brought back to the drawing board their entire party plans. But from organizational point of view, I felt that the Pride Party was good. I thought that there was a hiccup with one of the acts, which was unfortunately the only English-speaking act, Callum Scott. He had technical issues, and then he asked Disneyland Paris, could he go acoustic? And they said no. Probably wasn't the vibe they were looking for a bit. Yeah.
That's it. That's what I kind of thought. Because I was a bit like, oh, well, at least he's trying. And if that still is, at least he did try and come on. But I guess acoustic's not really the vibe that they're going for at the Pride Party. I did have this question further on down my list, but we're kind of onto it now anyway, so I might as well answer it. You were saying you paid 84 plus a 10 euro delivery fee. Do you feel like overall that the Pride Party was actually worth that money? Or do you think that they should have maybe charged more, charged less? What do you think?
So, Megan, you know me. I'm an eternal optimist. I have a massive optimism bias with regards to anything to do with. And plus that, I don't get out much, okay? I got 2 small kids. This was the first, anything resembling any sort of, a fun night out, late night, So just keep that in mind, please, to everyone who's comparing maybe to last year, or people who go to, if you were Harry Styles the weekend before and then you went to the Pride Party, you might think differently to me. So I had an absolutely fantastic time. I would not regret spending €95 on that night. I think the people I was hanging out with on the night made a lot of that. We had great banter, great crack. We had just so much fun. There was never standing around and saying, oh, what we do next, or whatever. We always had, I think studios lends itself to these events so well. Just the flow of the event. You're always, and the whole event was anchored by the concert. So if you moved from Avengers Campus down to Place de Remy to meet another character, over to Toon Studio or whatever, you always got a glimpse or you heard the concert. And it kind of made it all so just ravey, the atmosphere was heightened by that. They had, I think, I'm going to say 3 bars, definitely 2. I think there was 3 though. 3 bars, and they were kind of very PG bars. I think they had these shots that might or might not have been alcoholic, but they were kind of shooters. They looked like Jello, or I don't know what. They were very colourful.
They had those last year as well. I was dubious as to
Yeah.
whether there was actually alcohol in them or whether they were just like fruit jelly.
Yeah, so like I didn't partake. The lovely Tina loves Disneyland Paris on Instagram. She brought me a beer from like Studio D down to Ratatouille, which was
What a
which is a good,
legend.
like, it's probably a mile walk with a beer.
Oh, shout out to
And I was
Tina.
so parched because I had a salted pretzel about 2 hours beforehand, and I was just so parched.
Oh,
And it just hit my tongue and it just evaporated. So shout out to Tina, she's an absolute legend. I returned the favor, by the way, and I got her a beer, and I probably traveled half the way with that beer. But yeah, like, I mean, what happened was, so I started off with the parade. There was a little dedication ceremony by the ambassadors. You know, Tasha Rafalski did not make the stage, as expected in the current climate. And the ambassadors did a little speech. You know, we had a great dance routine by, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, Pluto, Clarice. I'm probably missing one or two there, but definitely those seven. They actually did a pre-parade in the main park just to give a bit of hype. That looked fantastic.
I'm really glad they did that because, yeah, last year there just wasn't any kind of indication in the other park that Pride was happening at all. It was just completely a non-thing. But I think maybe because they were still selling tickets on the gate, maybe they were trying to hype people up to stick their hands in their pockets and maybe buy a ticket to the next event. But
in the main park, you definitely knew was Pride. Let me just say that. Like, the guests were colourful.
Oh yeah, guests always, but
Pride.
like the guests last year as well, you could definitely tell that there was a lot of rainbow going on. But like in terms of the actual entertainment offerings, decorations and stuff in the Disneyland park, they had nothing at all. But I think again that event was sold out, so there was no real need for them to be advertising it either.
Yeah. So like back to the kind of the organization. So what you had was we had the parade after the dedication, and the parade was apparently less characters than last year, but they completely jazzified the Pride song, and they ramped it up to like 2023 on the scale. They mixed it in. The guy who's definitely in charge of probably something to do with Ready for the Ride, or I just think Disneyland Paris is smashing everything to do with music right now. Because if you listen to the remix of Around the World, the Pride theme tune for Disney, they actually played the original song in California a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people, I think they released some promotional material online for Disneyland Paris Pride and had the new version. And everyone was like, oh, that remix is not very good or whatever, But then it played for 25 minutes, and I would have listened to it for an hour. It was a fantastic remix, and like I've been listening to it since I got home. And
where can you listen to it? Is it online? Is it on Spotify, YouTube?
So I'm gonna drop a plug in here. I made a reel with it, so you can listen to my reel. There's also a fantastic TikTok account called Soundtrack of DLP, who kind of extracts super high quality versions of all the kind of scores for rides and parades over the years. So you can listen to it there. But Disneyland Paris haven't released this brand new jazzy version of Around the World, and they should, because it's an absolute banger. And Ireland will happily take it for the Eurovision if they want to give it to us next year.
Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do drop it.
Yeah, I just thought it was great. Like it was just, it just built and built and built, and then like I don't know, just go listen to it. It's fantastic. Around the World 2023, I assume is the name of it. So after the parade, then myself and Andrea hightailed it down to Place de Remy, because we thought that some of our friends were going to be down there, but they had stopped off at Stitch. So we got into the queue for Remy, and there was a bit of organizational mayhem down at Place de Remy with queues. I think that a lot of the cast members were actually in the parade. So the cast members who were then tasked, this just shows you what cast members have to do, okay? 100%. Cast members who were dancing their socks off in the parade, and these are not dancers, okay? There was some professional dancers in the parade, but most of them were like custodial. They were, like what they call them, guest flow and things like that. They're not dancers, and like, oh my God, fair play to them, because they were just giving us socks for 25 minutes in a parade where they probably never done in their lives. They hightailed it down to their jobs then, and they took up station in front of Place de Remy, in front of Toon Studio and down the Avengers campus, and organized all the meets and organized all the selfie spots. So once the cast members arrived, it was fantastically organized. You had a queue for Remy, you had a queue, you also had priority queues, priority pass queues, and then another queue, which seemed to be a lot of people with inside knowledge, probably with inside ears, created a second queue that turned out to be Edna Mode, which nobody else knew about. So
that was on the program very cryptically. In the meet and greet, they didn't like specify in the program exactly which characters were meeting, but they said in Place de Remy there would be a stylist, a chef, and did anyone ever find out who the valet was? That was the other thing. No. There was I think that must have been just like some kind of bad translation or something, because nobody could work out which character. It was like a stylist, a chef, and a valet, and everyone's like, "Who's this valet?" But
maybe
the mystery
valet
remains
is
unsolved.
Something similar to Emile. Do you know Emile's character?
I was thinking, was it a bad translation of like Cars? I was thinking, is there going to be like a different Cars character come out or something? But sure, I don't know. But that's good that Edna Mode came out. That's a character that you don't see meeting and greeting at Disneyland Paris pretty much ever. So that's good that they did pull out some rare ones.
There was a lot of love. Yeah, there was a lot of love for like Frozone was in the parade and Marie was in the parade. They didn't make an appearance after that, I don't think.
Marie did. Elaine and Toby met Marie. Yeah, because Elaine's a hardcore Marie fan. I actually cried when she sent me through the selfie, because she's been going to Disneyland for years and has never met her. And she finally met her at Pride. But I don't think their meet and greet was long. I think they were only out for a little while. I don't think many guests actually got to partake in that one.
I think maybe they switched out Remy and Edna Mode for Marie, and probably that's what happened. So then Avengers Campus was I wouldn't say hopping all night, but there was always activity all night. So down at where you usually have the Wakanda show and the Guardians of the Galaxy dance off, there was always Avengers swapping in and out. So I nearly lost my life at the second coming of Christ, when I went down and it was Sam Wilson, Captain America, and he's great. Sam Wilson has, let's just say, been updated recently, and the cast member is just so friendly and is truly Sam Wilson. Like, there's no, like, the character portrayal is spot on. He's so friendly. And then I think we doubled back again, and I came back to Avengers Campus later on the night, and there was Carol. And
Carol Danvers.
There was Carol. Princess Carol.
Carol.
I wouldn't say that to her face. I wouldn't say that to her face. And then, like an angel, came Natasha Romanoff. And I didn't know where to look. Like, I wear glasses. I've got 4 eyes. I didn't have any eyes. So they were kind of switching in, switching out. I didn't get a picture with Natasha. I just think it's one of those things that will probably never happen, because I don't know what else I'll have left in life once that happens.
Bucket list item.
Yeah. So we'll keep that on the to-do list. Bad pun. And maybe I'll meet her in training center sometime soon.
Fingers crossed. I don't know what I'd do if I saw Natasha Romanoff, like, just in the in the flesh.
Yep. So yeah, like, I have to mention Studio One. Like, Studio One kind of elevated into some sort of temple for the night. There was multiple platforms. I thought that Studio One was going to be just, up on the balcony where Mickey greets you into the park most days. But no, they placed little platforms over at the Headpack Corner and over at the petrol pumps. And up on the stages was Pluto and Goofy. And Goofy was like doing his best impression of Clarabelle. It was Yas Queen Goofy.
Oh, yassified Goofy. We're here for that.
Oh, completely. And then Mickey and Minnie were over, like, literally 5 yards away. And they were in their Pride outfits. And then every time, like, they switched over every half an hour or so, maybe every hour. And, like, just the energy when they were walking from, like, backstage onto the little podiums they had these were selfie spots, by the way. Like, Mickey and Minnie leaned into you, but there was no meet and greet. There's no autographs
no
or
hugs.
it wasn't one-on-one. Like, they were just getting between the selfies quickly. But in between that, like, again, yassified completely. Like, Minnie strutting herself down the rainbow carpet.
Good girl.
She was on fire.
Good girl.
Like, she was like a horse. Like, the legs just absolutely cantering down Studio One. It was just, the vibe was unbelievable. And shout out also to the ACC cast members, the chaperones that they have, because there was just so much going on in Studio One, and the chaperones made sure that the characters like knew that to delight as many guests as possible. They were
sounds
pointing
like
out that
the VIPs definitely understood the assignment for the event anyway. I've seen loads of really, really good feedback on the Studio One, because I know some people were kind of initially a bit disappointed that it was selfie spots only, but it looked like it was really, really good fun. And I think a lot of people has kind of changed their mind by the end of the night.
Yeah. And just breaking news also, I went on Crush Coaster for the first time ever.
Ever?
Ever.
What did you think? What's the vibe?
So I liked it. I was scared of it, simply because I thought it was going to be like, either dizzy or puking getting off. But I won't be rushing back onto it, but there's nothing really to be afraid of. I would say that for a lot of people. Now, it is very spinny. I was sitting at the back, which our friend Tom tells us is the worst place to sit if you're in any way not used to spinny or fast roller coasters. But sure, why not? Like, in for a penny, in for a pound. And I'm not, I guess the theming inside the coaster, I don't think was great. I think it's kind of industrial, the way you can see the track. I did like there's a couple of scenes that are nice, but you're just waiting for the next kind of drop and spin, and you'd spin while you're dropping, so it's entirely discombobulating, the whole thing. And when you're doing that, you get to see the track that's ahead of you, or the track that's further on the ride. So you're kind of missing a little bit of suspense of imagination there, because the track is so visible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that I went on. One person in the party had a party pass, and he was like, "You haven't been on? Come on with me." So I was like, "Thanks a million," because like I would not. Even the queue at the Pride Party was 40 minutes.
Of course.
And there's no queues for anything. And that, like, Crush Coaster is usually 90 to 120 minutes on a normal day.
It's such a low capacity ride. Like, it really is. You can only get two people on one. Two people on one side of the car and two on the other. So you're only really getting 4 people on each one, and you can see how the queues really do build up. But I think you picked the right time to go on it anyway. With a priority pass holder and like on Friday night anyway. Like, you're never going to get a 40-minute queue for that during a normal day. But where else was I going to ask you? I was going to ask if you would go to another Pride event at Disneyland Paris based on your experience of the one you just went to. Has it inspired you to come back, or did you think that it didn't live up to your expectations, or it did? I feel like a lot of people said the same to me when they were like telling me about it, that their night was more made by the people around them and the people that they met and the crack they had, rather than the quality of the event itself. But I'm just keen to hear whether it's made you want to go back.
It's hard to separate the experience from what was provided by the party. It's kind of hard when it was all just happening around, and like there was like 5 or 6 of us going around the party for the whole night. So it was like, and again, like the people I was with were great fun. So and I was constantly meeting other people throughout the night that I knew from like Instagram or knew from other things that I've seen earlier that day. So I never really felt, and like there was like notable cast members just on a day off who were at Pride because they wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And you just felt like everyone was having a great time. So I mean, if I was going, I don't know anybody. Well, would anybody go solo to the Pride Party, like completely solo, and not know anybody that they were going to meet there? I'm not sure they would. So I'm not sure I would recommend that, even because if you're alone for the whole night, you might purely like write down what happened with regards to, I would say substandard lineup, and then the the degradation with the technical issues, and then the character meet situation not being particularly special, even though it was made special by the characters themselves. You would say, oh, nothing special there. But I felt it was a very special night. I just felt that it was so cool to have such a party on in studios. I'd never been to a party in studios before, and it's just so much better than the main park.
I think all ticketed events should be in the studios until they sort out the situation in the main park. Like, they should just move everything into studios, move Halloween, move Christmas if they wanted. If I know they're not doing it this year, but if they want to do that in future years, until they've got the party situation in the Disneyland park perfected, they should just stick to studios.
Like, if they're going to do it in park, they should close off just have Discoveryland, Main Street, and Frontierland maximum. You know, close off, because I mean, you can go asleep in Adventureland by yourself, and nobody will wake you up until the morning.
True.
So they could easily do that, but I thought it was great. If it's on next year, I'll be going again.
Fantastic! And I will see you there.
Hopefully I'll convince you to come back again.
I will, though. I will. I feel like I had, because I absolutely loved last year. Last year was just bigger and better than I could have ever hoped. For me, I felt a bit let down this year compared to last year, just in terms of the lineup, and you know, it all just felt a bit strange to me, the way that the tickets were brought out so much earlier and the lineup was so late coming out, and I don't know, it just didn't spark enough in me to pay as much money to go. But I did have major FOMO on the night, seeing all of yous all there, because that was the FOMO I had on the night, was seeing the people that were there. I would have loved to have been there with yous all, but for me, from watching at home, the event didn't seem to hit the same. But I'm really glad that everyone that you were with had a really good night. That's the main thing. That nobody kind of came away saying like that they regretted coming or regretted spending the money. So that's really good. I'm just going to check my questions, see if there's anything else there that I was going to ask. Oh, well, here's a good one. So to round it all off, if you could sum up the event in one sentence, what would it be?
Oh, I missed that question earlier in my preparation for this.
You're giving away our secrets that I prepped you with a question.
Yeah. No, well, like I had to make sure that I wasn't going to get cancelled by any sort of leading questions.
Story of our lives.
If I was to sum up in one sentence, I would say that, as per usual, the people make the party, and it was a fantastic backdrop for the people having a great time at the party.
Fabulous. The people make the party. I think that's a good one to end it on. That's a quote that is going in the sound bites. Love it. So I think we should maybe wrap it up there for this month's episode. What do you think? Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, and absolutely. We're going to be back probably very soon. This episode is called Trips Ahoy, and Miss Megan here is soon off to Disneyland Paris.
Yes, 3 more sleeps. Mentally, I've already completely disengaged from just work and reality. I'm on the plane already. So hopefully the next couple of days I'll just fly in. I'm really looking forward to it, because it's been a year since I've been in Disneyland Paris, because my last time was Pride last year. So
I know,
super eager
I can't wait
back.
to see you there, because like I go so often and I feel that it's, I feel I'm so familiar with the place, and I'm barely gone before I come back again, and I just can't wait to see you there and you having your fun. And you haven't been there in a while because you've been distracted by the American parks, but I do hope that Disneyland Paris reminds you of how special it is.
Oh, 100%. I've already got another trip booked as well for March as well. So I'll only be away for another sort of couple of months anyway, before I'm back in business, and then hopefully back with another annual pass. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and we'll have to get an Irish Ears trip going.
We will. We absolutely will.
Just for content for the podcast.
Yeah, we could do a live podcast from Disneyland Paris.
There we go.
Let us know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in listening to. I'm sure we could pull that off.
Manifest that into the world.
Yeah, let's manifest it. Anyway, thank you everybody who has listened today. We really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the episode, and if you're still here, I'd like to think it's because you're enjoying the episode. Make sure to leave us reviews, like it on whatever platform that you're listening to it on, because it really helps us get the word out. And it really gives us an idea of who's enjoying the podcast and the kind of content that hits with you guys, the stuff that misses, because we just want to make it be the best it can be. So do you want to show us out then?
That is a wrap on episode 2 of Irish Ears at Disney Fancast. You can keep up to speed with both Stuart on Disneyland Paris Tips for Irish and Megan on Megan Loves Magic. Please send us your feedback or anything you'd like to discuss on the podcast. We have lots of ideas and we hope to get through in the coming months.
But for now, we'll say a bientôt. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.